and 1.
So good morning, I'm Councillor Sandra Moore, and can I welcome you to BCP Council's Licensing Sub-Committee? And looking at my colleagues, can I ask for nominations for chair?
Certainly, I'd like to nominate Councillor Sandra Moore as chair this morning.
Seconded.
Thank you, members. So first, can I go on to the housekeeping? So can we go over to the clerk to work out how the meeting's going to be managed?
Thank you, Chair. Please note that this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. Please note that if the fire alarm sounds, which it will do because we have a drill this morning, but if it does continuously ring, we need to exit the building by way of the nearest available signed fire exit route and make our way to the assembly point along Brady Road under the flyover. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Right, we go over to item 2, which is apologies. So have we had any apologies for this meeting?
None received. Thank you.
Thank you. So item 3 is declarations of interest. So I'm going to ask my colleagues whether or not they've got any declarations of interest. I can declare that I haven't.
I also have no declarations.
No declarations.
Thank you for that. So we go over to item 4, the protocol for public speaking at hearings, and a protocol for public speaking at meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee is included with the agenda sheet for noting. Thank you. So then we go over to item 5, sworn in Unit B and Unit C, 29 Old Orchard Pool. The licensing authority has received an application for a new premises licence for the premises known as Swan Inn, Unit B and C, 29 Old Orchard Pool. The subcommittee is asked to adjourn this hearing until 22nd of January 2024 in accordance with the Regulations 12 of the Licensing Act 2003, bracket hearings, Regulations 2005 as necessary for its consideration of any representations or notice made by a party. So members, can we agree?
Absolutely.
Is that all right? Okay, thank you for that. That's confirmed. Item 6, again, Swan Inn, Food and Wine Limited, Unit A, 29, Old Orchard Pool. The licensing authority has received an application for a new premises licence for the premises known as Swan Inn, Unit A, 29, Old Orchard Pool. The subcommittee is asked to adjourn this hearing until 22nd January 2024 in accordance with Regulation 12 of the Licensing Act 2003, bracket hearings. Regulations 2005 as necessary for its consideration of any representations or notice made by a party. So members, can we agree? Agreed. Okay, so that is also agreed. Then we go on to item 7, Highcliffe Sports and Social Club, 387 Lymington Road, Christchurch. The licensing authority has received an application to review the club premises certificate for the premises known as Highcliffe Sports and Social Club, 387 Lymington Road, Christchurch. The subcommittee is asked to adjourn this hearing until 31st of January 2024 in accordance with Regulation 12 of the Licensing Act 2003, bracket hearings. Regulations 2005 as necessary for its consideration of any representations or notice made by a party. Again, members, can we confirm?
Absolutely.
Okay, right, that is also confirmed. Right, so now we go over to item 8, review of premises licence, bargain convenience store, 495 Wimborne Road, Bournemouth. An application has been received from Dorset Police to review the premises licence for the premises known as Bargain Convenience Store, 495 Wimborne Road, Bournemouth.
Thank you, Chair. If we just pause there and I shall go and bring the parties in, and then we can do instructions with them present. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
simple. I'll hand over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we're on to item 8, which is the review of premises licence, bargain convenience stores, 495 Wimborne Road, Bournemouth. So an application has been received from Dorset Police to review the premises licence for the premises known as Bargain Convenience Store 495 Wimborne Road, Bournemouth. And this matter is brought to the before the licensing subcommittee for determination. So I'm now going to ask each of us to introduce themselves and state our role. So I'm Councillor Sandra Moore. I'm chairing this subcommittee, and my colleagues.
Good morning, I'm Councillor Chris Matthews. I'm a member of the subcommittee this morning.
Morning, I'm Councillor Judy Richardson, member of subcommittee this morning.
Thank you. We also have Councillor Castle, who is a reserve member. Clearly, he's not needed because we're all here, but he's going to observe for training purposes. And we've also on Teams, we have Councillor Adrian Chapman-Law, who is watching, as I said, via Teams, and again, it's for training purposes, but it won't be taking part in the deliberation. And then we have Tanya.
Morning, Chair. Thank you. So it's Tanya Jardine, licensing officer, and representing this not representing the application, but here to support the application. Thanks. No, I'm not supporting the application. I'm just presenting the applications.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Linda Cole.
Uh-oh.
Good morning. I'm Linda Cole. I'm the legal advisor to the subcommittee this morning.
Michelle.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Cutler and I'm the clerk to the licensing subcommittee this morning.
Good morning, Louise Busfield, licensing officer with Dorset Police.
Lister. Mr. Day. Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry.
Sergeant Gosling, I'm supporting Louise for this first item.
Thank you.
I'm Philip Day from Lacey Solicitors, and I'm here to represent the premises licence holder, Mr. Zamanko, who sits next to me with his colleague, who is here to assist with translation if needed, but I don't think it will be.
Thank you for that. Right, so before I run through the procedure, can I check that everyone who has given notice their intention to speak have been identified, and anyone who wishes to withdraw a representation or wishes not to speak has also been identified? Yeah, there's no comments. I'm going to take that as correct. So now I'm going to explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer is going to present the report. Questions of the licensing officer by all parties, members of the subcommittee, to go first. The applicant, Dorset Police, will make their application. Questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the subcommittee, again to go first. Then we're going to invite those representing the premises to respond to the application. Question of the premises reps, members of the subcommittee, again to go first. All parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last, the premises, to go first. The hearing will then conclude, and the subcommittee will deliberate in private with our legal advisor and our clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. Okay, so now I'm going to ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations unless anyone indicates otherwise. I'm going to take this as confirmed. I think we're all okay. Everyone okay? Okay, so finally, can I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they've already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair and there will be no cross-examination of parties. Okay, so I'm now going to ask the licensing officer to present the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So Dorset Police have applied to review the premises licence at Bargains Convenience Store under Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003 on the grounds that they believe the premises are not upholding the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, protection of children from harm licensing objectives. Dorset Police no longer have confidence in the premises licence holder, who is also the designated premises supervisor. The review was lodged following 2 incidents at the premises, one where a member of staff at the premises failed to meet the safeguarding needs of a victim of a serious assault, and the second incident where, as part of the police-led test purchase, a member of staff sold alcohol to minors without requesting proof of identification, as is required on the conditions of the premises licence. The premises have been the subject of a previous review application by Dorset Police, and details of which are set out in the report, and I trust members have had a chance to have a look at. During the consultation period, mediation took place between Mr. Day, acting on behalf of the premises licence holder, and Dorset Police, and a copy of the email thread is attached at Appendix 4. Members will note that Mr. Day explained in his submission to Dorset Police that the revocation of the licence, as suggested by Dorset Police, would be a disproportionate outcome, and proposed that a more suitable outcome would be to add a condition that all staff working in the premises undergo conflict management training, that the licence be suspended for a period of 1 month, and that at least one person who holds a personal licence be on duty in the premises whenever alcohol is being offered for sale. Members will note the Dorset Police's response to Mr. Day's proposals, and that although they agree to what has been proposed, it is for members to consider these proposals in reaching their decision following today's hearing. Members are reminded that any powers exercised by them must be necessary and appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and directed at the causes of concern, which the application identifies once these have been established through this hearing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So questions for the licensing officer, members? Have we got any questions? No?
Not at this point.
Okay, has anyone else got any questions? Okay. Right, thank you for that. Right. Right, Dorset Police, would you like to make your application?
Yes, good morning, Chair, Subcommittee. So this application for the review of the premises licence for Bargain Convenience Store is being brought before you due to the evidence that we have gathered that the licensing objectives, specifically, as the licensing officer has mentioned, the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and the protection of children from harm, have been undermined. It is, and it always has been, the intention of the Dorset Police Drug and Alcohol Harm Reduction Team to engage with and support licensees, and the expectation that licensees will strive to meet the licensing objectives. Dorset Police can evidence that this premises has failed to meet the standards that we expect of a responsible operator. I won't repeat everything that's been submitted already in the application for review, but just to briefly summarise that a serious assault occurred on the premises. It must be stressed to everyone that the incident per se was not the fault of the premises. It could have occurred anywhere. It was just unfortunate it happened to occur in this specific premises. The concern is that the staff didn't react to the incident in a way that was appropriate. Instead telling the victim of the assault to get out of the premises, whereas the expectation would have been for perhaps some first aid to be administered and at least a 999 call made to the emergency services. So this shortfall in the training and the attitude of staff was further evidenced on two separate occasions, in actual fact, when staff failed basically a police-led test purchase operation, and on two separate occasions sold alcohol to minors without requesting proof of ID or acknowledging the Challenge 25 scheme, which, as we all know, is an industry standard. So again, I won't reiterate what is already in the pack, but obviously if you have any questions, please do address them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Right, questions, members, have we got any questions for the police? Okay.
Yes, I'm just wondering the age of the minors who alcohol was sold to. Were they obviously underage, or, you know, what were the circumstances there?
That's a very suggestive question. I mean, subjective question, I beg your pardon. Who can say? Youngsters can look 25, they can look 12. I think one of the greatest examples in staff training that I've seen recently is that the DPS of a licensed premises has been showing his staff members photographs of a new darts champion who's 16 years old. He could pass for a 30-year-old. So as I say, it's terribly subjective, and it's not a question that I can really answer.
Thanks, Chair. Just one question. I don't know if this is appropriate to ask, but would it be possible, without going into too many graphic details, to have a little bit of indication about the public safety, the nature of the assaults? Would that be possible?
We deliberately haven't gone into too great a detail about the assault because it is still the subject of a live investigation, and it is going to court in March of this year. So whilst the actual incident per se, it was an incident of violence, it's the reaction of the staff that we are more concerned about rather than how the incident itself unfolded.
That's absolutely fine. Thank you very much.
In your papers, it does mention there's a knife was involved. That helps. So it's clearly a serious incident. Any further questions? Nope. Sorry. Yeah, can we just clarify about the two underage people? Was it on two separate occasions, or was it on one occasion? Two people in one evening. Yeah, thank you.
There were two separate police-led test purchase operations in which two minors entered the premises. So yes, it was two minors on two separate occasions.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Right, so there's no further questions. Can I invite those representing the premises to respond to the application?
Thank you, Ma'am. You will have seen the email exchange with the police with regard to that. If I can deal first of all with the assault that occurred in the premises. This was all captured on the shop CCTV, and thanks to Ms. Busfield, I was able to view that CCTV, all 90 seconds of it yesterday. It was something that happened completely and utterly out of the blue. There was obviously more to it behind the scenes, but it was very obvious that something had happened because the victim fell to the floor, and the assailant fled and disappeared on a motorbike. You see the shop assistant, somewhat stunned, I think it's fair to say, went to the window to look outside to see what had happened. The victim got up of his own volition, by the looks of things, and as though he had been injured in the back. From the CCTV, there was no very obvious sign of injury or whatever, and the gentleman left really quite quickly. He'd he had a dog on one of these extending leads that was outside the shop. So he grabbed the lead, opened the door, got the dog, and went off very briskly. The member of staff concerned should obviously have dialed 999 and called the police, because it was pretty obvious what had happened and that it was serious. But my understanding of it is that there was full cooperation. The CCTV assisted in apprehending a person who was charged with a serious offence, and that's going through the Crown Court at the moment, and I believe is awaiting sentence. But I don't think it's appropriate to say anything more about that. With regard to the underage sale, there's really nothing that I can say. It happened, end of. The shop assistant concerned did not tell my client, who was away abroad at the time. He didn't find out about it for a couple of weeks. And when he did find out about it, he took immediate action to dispense with the employment of the individual concerned, who, as I've said in my submission, was not even given a fixed penalty notice. No action was taken. Though I understand that that seems to have gone out of favour these days, and that members of staff are not prosecuted if they're caught. I don't quite understand why that is so, but I understand that that is now the policy line that's being taken. We've looked at it. I've discussed it with Mr. Smanko at length, and suggested a course of action, which you can see in the final bit of my email, and you will see that Sergeant Gosling and Ms. Busfield have been kind enough to discuss that with me, and are satisfied that an appropriate and proportionate outcome would be to suspend the licence for a period of a month. And I've explained to my client that that suspension would take effect from 21 days after the date upon which we receive formal notice of your decision. So if that's today, then 3 weeks' time, and then no alcohol sales for a month. And during that time, there should be further training and conflict management. It's not so much conflict management, because if you actually look and see what happened here, the shop assistant had absolutely no opportunity to get involved, to separate the two. The whole thing was over and done with in seconds. But the point about conflict management training is how you should then react and behave if there has been an incident, like keeping the crime scene or whatever clear, ringing 999 and preserving the CCTV and all that sort of thing. And my understanding is that that training was scheduled and did take place on the 17th of March with the new shop assistant and so on. And then finally, to ensure that people are properly trained, that there should be somebody who's got a personal license on duty whenever the shop is open to sell alcohol. And I commend that to you. It's your decision, of course, as always, but it has been a mediated outcome, which I would invite you, please, to endorse.
Thank you for that. Members, questions? Yes. Sorry, Judy.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, is it regularly staffed by the same people? So if training is received, we can be sure that the people...
The shop is very small, and there is usually only one member of staff on duty at any one time. So it's not like a supermarket where there are maybe 40, 50 staff and so on. It does, yes, tend to be the same person, or Mr. Zamanko himself.
But they would be people who are there regularly?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
I've got any more questions. Right, can I ask a question then? You referred to the instance of the underage sales. Well, you referred to one, but there were actually two.
There was one some time ago which led to an earlier review application, which is referred to in papers, which was then subject of a mediated and agreed appeal outcome. My understanding from this was, I mean, I've read the papers and I understood that in this instance, there was the one, and if I can quote, Dorset Police conducted test purchases exercises throughout Bournemouth during October 23 to ensure premises promoting Challenge 25 schemes or similar, etc. One exercise took place at this premises and the staff sold an alcoholic product to a person under the age of 18 without any challenge or requirement to produce identification. The other failed test purchase had taken place some months earlier, as I understand it. They were not two on the same day or anything like that here. It was one more, which is why I made the submission that this was not as defined by the Act, persistent sales. If it had been persistent sales, then they'd be looking at a 3-month suspension rather than the month.
Yeah, this is why I asked the question earlier about the two incidents, but they were quite separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has there been two failed test purchases since the premises was last reviewed, or has only been one?
So apologies for any confusion in the way that we've set it out. There was a test purchase operation in 2023 after the consent order had been agreed, or post the consent order. And then we submitted the application for review, after which we then conducted a second test purchase operation.
That's not been disclosed before today.
On
So it's in the email. Sorry, apologies. It's not, and I confess it's not very clear. It's detailed in the email of the 9th of January from myself to Mr. Day and others in respect that there were two separate test purchase exercises. I think what's happened here is that the first one's quite understandably by Mr. Day's being alluded. He's considered that the first one happened in respect of the previous review, whereas I haven't made it crystal clear here that it was actually two test purchases since that past review. Yeah, so there has been two relatively recent, or certainly since the last.
So there's 3 in total then.
Yes, that's right. And that's where, just to add to that, really, I think following the past, and I appreciate it's not particularly our opportunity now to talk, but to provide some clarity around it, that's why we're really keen for that measure of the personal license holder, because it really truly is somebody who understands the significance of protecting young people from alcohol, and also understanding that we need to try and avoid situations like this, and that simply making a sale to somebody that you believe maybe is on the cusp. It's better to be safe than sorry, and it's only a personal license holder really that's going to fully understand the significance of that. So hopefully that will give you some reassurance.
Clarity. Thank you. Right, yeah. So how is this going to be managed in the future then with the staff training?
Well, in two respects, conflict management training, and also to ensure that there is personal license holder on duty. In order to get a personal license, you have to have effectively a clean criminal record, etc. But more to the point, you also have to undertake a properly accredited training course, which covers a multitude of things under the Licensing Act, but including in particular prohibited sales. In other words, people who are intoxicated, people who are under the age of 18, and how one implements a Challenge 25 policy, which everybody tends to do these days. It used to be Challenge 21, where in fact it used to be no challenge at all, unless they were obviously under 18. But things have moved on as I've grown older, certainly. And also that includes, and it's not an issue here, but proxy sales, where somebody comes in who is in their mid-20s or whatever to buy alcohol or come to that tobacco for somebody who is underage. And what can you do to spot when that's happening, and what can you do to prevent it, etc. And it's a good training course. It's not a 5-minute job, and there is an exam at the end of it, which you have to score pretty high marks, otherwise you don't succeed.
Can I ask about your staffing? I mean, a personal license holder, you say, to be on duty all the time. So how many staff with a personal license have you got?
The short answer to that one in this shop means that basically anybody who's working there has got to have a personal license, otherwise they will not be permitted to sell alcohol.
And you think that's doable, because it's quite a big ask.
It has to be doable.
That's what I mean.
It's not an optional thing.
No.
It is a necessity. And so basically all of the staff will need personal licenses if they don't already have them. Or Mr. Zamanko himself is going to have to be.
Okay, that is a big ask though.
It's a matter
And you're saying that is what you're guaranteeing that's going to happen.
We are
together with conflict management.
We are suggesting that it should be a condition on the license. Ultimately, it is a matter for you to decide whether that's
quite. But you can guarantee that you will go.
Yes.
They will go through the training and everything else.
Yes.
Okay, that's all we need to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a little bit of clarification on referring to the incident where the underage sale was made, and I think you said that you weren't made aware of it for a couple of weeks. So I'm just kind of trying to get my head around the sort of line of commands within the shop. I mean, from the day-to-day sort of running of things. How going forward, how do we avoid that in the future? Is there going to be some sort of checks and balances in place, or is there going to be, you know, I worked many years ago in retail and as a manager, and there was certain things that you've always had in place, checks and balances and stuff, good practice really. So I'm just thinking of any things that can be put in place to ensure that that doesn't happen in the future, because not knowing about something like that for a couple of weeks, or at least a couple of weeks, is actually quite scary really in many respects. So
well, absolutely. And you know, that was gross misconduct. That was gross misconduct on the part of the staff member who lost their job, summary dismissal as a result. And you know, the message has to go out to all members of staff that if there is any sort of problem, then Mr. Zamanko has to be told at the earliest possible opportunity. It's as simple and straightforward as that.
Fine. Absolutely agree with that, but surely there's also the onus on the owner of the premises to ensure that those kinds of things happen, and to make sure that there's regular checks.
Mr. Zamanko is well aware of that, and has and will continue to literally lay the law down to his staff as to the importance of this. And you know, again, hence the requirement that all of them, each and every one, gets a personal license and knows and has been properly trained as to their responsibilities as a licensee. And I mean that as the person who is the holder of a personal license.
Just one quick clarification. This training is compulsory for all stores such as this. Is it people who work in these stores?
No, it isn't. The requirement is that if you have a premises license to sell alcohol, then you must have a designated premises supervisor, just the one person, Mr. Zamanko, and that person has to hold a personal license that's been issued under the 2003 Act, and which has not been suspended or revoked. Other than that, in the vast majority of off-licensed premises, or even pubs and bars and even nightclubs. There is no requirement on members of staff to have a personal license. Most premises licenses these days include a condition relating to staff training and refresher training and the like, and that's fairly standard, but not to the level required in order to have a personal license. So this would be imposing a higher standard in the light of what has happened than would normally be the case for off-licence premises.
No further questions? Right, so we come to the opportunity to sum up. So would you like to, Mr. Day, would you like to sum up on behalf of your?
I'd be repeating myself and you asked us not to do that, so.
Have you got anything else to say?
Thank you very much, but no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to sum up?
Thank you. Like Mr. Day, it's going to be fairly concise, a bit less concise, but I think that the appropriate and proportionate conditions have been offered in the extensive email trail between Sergeant Gosling and Mr. Day and his clients, and the offers of conflict management training that a personal license holder should be on the premises at all times, and combined with the suspension of the premises license for a month in order to allow these changes to take place, almost like a fire break, if you like. That gives us the assurances that the licensing objectives will be promoted, but we also have to be mindful that the operator has to finally recognise their responsibilities as a licensee. And to this end, we will continue to engage, we'll continue to support the premises in achieving compliance. We can direct you to online training, which is offered by Training Standards Southwest. There's no charge. But again, just to reiterate, whilst we're confident with these proposals, as long as they're implemented, this is really Dorset Police's final attempt to achieve compliance. You'll have our contact details. We're always accessible, and there are going to be no further reasons, I hope, for there not to be complete compliance in upholding the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Judy.
Sorry, Judy.
Do you have a question?
I don't think there's a question at the moment. They're just summing up. Okay. Tanya, did you want to?
No, thank you,
anything
Chair.
to add? Okay. So we'll come to, you ask the questions, we'll do it in the deliberation at the end, all right? So I'm now going to conclude the hearing. And we're going to adjourn in private with our legal advisor and our clerk to deliberate. So you can all now leave, and the decision will be conveyed to you in writing as we explained earlier. Okay, so thank you very much for coming in person, because it's much easier to talk to people in person. Thank you very much. Thank you. We're just about to adjourn so that all the people can that are representing here can come in now. Thank you. Thank you. So now we can move on to item 9, which is Nala Tapas and Cocktail Lounge, 134 to 137 West Hill Road, Bournemouth. So an application has been received from the licensing authority to review the premises license for the premise known as Nala Tapas and Cocktail Lounge, 134 to 137 West Hill Road, Bournemouth. A request has been made by Mr. Philip Day, solicitor, to adjourn this hearing until 24th of January 2024. So, Mr. Day, we have read your reasons for the adjournment, but have you anything that you wish to add to our reports?
Yes, just for your information, Ma'am, there's been extensive mediation in this case with Mr. Hill in particular, because although this application was brought by Mrs. Rogers on behalf of the licensing authority, the reality of it is that it's really environmental health that are driving this. I'm pleased to be able to tell you that the mediation is almost complete. There is, in fact, only one relatively minor matter that may need to be considered at the hearing. But the point is simply this: we've made part of the mediation was to make an application for a new license to address many of the concerns that had been raised. If that license is granted, and again, that'll be a matter for the committee at the adjourned hearing, then the review may well become completely redundant. So it would be a waste of everybody's time to go through the review if there is a different license in place which negates it. So that's the main reason. It's just a little unfortunate that for administrative reasons, the new license application could not have been listed for hearing today, because then we could have got rid of all of it in one go. But there we are, that's the way the world goes round. So I would ask you please to adjourn it for 1 week.
Thank you for that. We'll just debate with my colleagues.
Absolutely happy to adjourn.
Yeah, okay. Right, well, thank you, Mr. Day. So we do agree it would be more pragmatic to deal with the new application first, since this new application was made as part of your mediation to all the issues that have been raised in the review. So we are going to agree to adjourn the review until the 24th of January, when the new application will be considered.
Thank you very much. And for the benefit of everybody involved with that, I will be putting in a further written submission. I hope to have that done by the weekend, so that whoever's sitting on the committee next week has proper time to consider it, because the papers are quite voluminous, as you will have seen, but hopefully we can cut through a lot of the trees to get to the wood.
Thank you for that. So I am going to adjourn the meeting now and we can end the live stream.